Tonight, our exclusive interview with embattled Republican Congressman George Santos. He has pleaded not guilty to 13 federal charges. Those charges include fraud related to COVID-19 unemployment benefits, misusing campaign funds, and lying about his personal finances on House disclosure reports. He is also under investigation by the House Ethics Committee. Despite all this, Santos says he is not resigning and he is running for re-election next year. And he has joined some of his Republican colleagues in calling for Biden's impeachment. Calls that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy finally caved to today, announcing an impeachment inquiry. And Congressman George Santos joins me now. And Congressman, I appreciate your time tonight. I want to start with the news from Speaker McCarthy. You put out a statement today about it, and you said, quote, in part, "I have yet to receive any reports of sufficient evidence worthy of impeachment coming from the three House committees investigating President Biden. Yet I know that you support McCarthy in his call to begin the impeachment inquiry." How come?
Well, it's very simple. The process can't be cheapened. We can't allow us to do the same mistakes that former Speaker Pelosi did and just bulldoze through an impeachment without any credible evidence. The American public is already fractured and sick and tired of that. So that's why I've been a no impeachment without impeachment inquiry, period, and I've drawn that line. I'm happy to see the Speaker today come out, putting out the process, laying out the process, so the American people can have transparency into it and that we can mount evidence. And if we do find enough sufficient evidence to go and impeach the president, it is with a heavy heart that I will cast a vote to impeach the president.
But if there's no reports of sufficient evidence worthy of impeachment now, why support an impeachment inquiry?
Well, because I think we need to broaden the scope for the committee so that they can continuously dig deeper. Look, if you were to compare us to the former speaker, she didn't allow the process to play out. She just went and used whatever her assumptions were and that the majority at the time's assumptions were to be gospel, and they went ahead and rammed through an impeachment, which was very partisan on the first one, and then on the second one, you get something that was unprecedented. So we don't need that. We want to fix the precedent and make sure that we uphold this to the seriousness that impeachment actually is.
Of course, this is partisan. I mean, it will be along party lines. But also, I know that Speaker McCarthy at the time when Speaker Pelosi had announced an inquiry, he was very upset, said it was a dark day for the rule of law because she did so unilaterally without a full House vote. That, of course, is exactly what he has done today. And I want to play for you what he said at the time about the House Speaker, then House Speaker Pelosi's move.
Make no mistake, yesterday was a dark day for America. It was a dark day for the rule of law that the Speaker of the House would claim a president violated the law without ever having any information to judge it on.
Now, though, Congressman McCarthy is doing exactly that, launching an impeachment inquiry without, as you yourself said, having sufficient evidence worthy of impeachment. Why is today not a dark day for the rule of law?
Well, I think it's amazing when I see networks like CNN. They love to criticize Republicans when they do exactly what the Democrats did. I don't recall seeing CNN's outrage when Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, then did it. So I think she set the precedent. He's just following in her footsteps. I guess it's eye for an eye at this point. Look,
I guess
was always in favor of the process.
I understand your point, eye for an eye, but if someone says it's a dark day for the rule of law, why is the right thing to do to say, oh, well, when I have the power, I'm cool with a dark day for the rule of law?
Look, it's not like he paraded in excitement and was cheering on his decision. It wasn't a decision he took lightly. I'm not here to speak for him, but I support his decision. I support his efforts because if we're going to be completely honest, we have to have CNN bring Joe Biden on the network and grill him. Put him through the tough questions, Erin. I challenge you to do that. The American people deserve to see reporters like yourself. Bring them on to networks like CNN and let's grill the president like you guys grilled Donald Trump for 4 years he was in office. I think it's very fair to go grill Joe Biden. Joe Biden has a Trevor trove, starting with his son, Hunter Biden, cocaine in the White House, laptops from hell, all these things, and none of this is spoken about on your network.
Well, that's not true. It's all actually spoken about on the network, and certainly is on this
Erin?
program. But let me just ask you, because I'm back to the very fundamental point here. In the moment that we're in, does the evidence exist for an impeachment inquiry? Republican Congressman Ken Buck, your colleague, Congressman Santos, has opposed the push to impeaching Biden. He was very direct. Here's what he said.
The time for impeachment is the time when there's evidence linking President Biden, if there's evidence linking President Biden to a high crime or misdemeanor. That doesn't exist right now.
So what do you say to him?
Well, I agree with him. Right now, we don't have sufficient proof to impeach him, but we have sufficient evidence and sufficient leads to go do an inquiry, and that's exactly what we're doing. I think what you're confusing the American people with the point you're trying to convey is that we don't have sufficient avenues to go investigate and look into the president, which clearly, as clear as day, is we have sufficient avenues to go down and see what Hunter did, when Hunter did it, what the president knew, what did he do when he knew. Nobody can explain how Hunter Biden, with no experience, ends up on the board of Burisma at the time that his father is vice president of the United States. Those are all valid questions the American people deserve answers to.
So you support Speaker McCarthy. You're making it clear. It does come, of course, as no surprise. Congressman, he could call for an expulsion vote for you. He holds your fate in his hands. And so I wanted to play something for you to have a chance to respond to. This is an exchange between the Speaker and our Manu Raju. This was on May 10th. Let me play it for you.
Santos said today he's running for re-election. Are you going to support him? You're not.
When is the last time you spoke to Speaker McCarthy, Congressman?
I mean, look, I speak to the Speaker when deemed appropriate and when needed, and I have a great relationship with him. I think he's a fantastic leader for the conference, and I stand by that. Now, he might have a difference of opinion whether I should run for re-election or not, but quite frankly, that's up to me, not to him or anyone else in this body.
Are you confident that he stands behind you right now, separate from re-election, that he stands behind you staying in your seat right now?
Well, he believes in process, and I believe that I'm entitled to the same process as every single American is in this country. I'm going through the process, and I'm standing strong doing that. But it's amazing that every single time I come on networks, I do interviews with you guys, it seems to be the same questions that I've answered on and on again. It seems that you guys in the mainstream media don't want to see a process. You want to see this the gun jumped and making a hasty decision against myself. So look, I can never win the argument with you guys, but I can say one thing is, I'm entitled to that same process that Joe Biden is entitled, that Donald Trump was entitled to, but Donald Trump was denied, and Joe Biden is being given all sorts of
Well,
grace.
and certainly I see it that we're giving you the opportunity to tell your side of the story and give your point of view. McCarthy has said that he's waiting for the results of the House Ethics Committee, specifically their investigation to you, specifically as to whether he would call for your expulsion or anything else, right? The committee there has expanded its investigation into you after you were charged by the Justice Department. Do you have any idea where that investigation stands tonight?
Absolutely not, and even if I did, it would be irresponsible for me to share it on national television because it can disrupt the investigation. So the reality is nobody's going to speak on an ongoing investigation of this nature.
Would you resign if the committee concludes that you committed wrongdoing?
Look, I think that the committee should be very wary about making any hasty decision. That's been my entire case in point with everything going on. The DOJ has their case. I think that it would be very irresponsible for the committee to have one conclusion and then something else play out in court. So my answer to your question, no.
So I've mentioned, and you just mentioned, of course, the federal government. You've been charged with 13 counts by the federal government. Prosecutors wrote in a recent filing that you and the government, and I quote, Congressman, are engaged in discussions regarding possible paths forward in this matter. Possible paths forward. Do you know what that means? Are you negotiating a deal with the feds?
There is no talks of negotiation, and the reality is for me to even get into the weeds of it would cheapen also, again, my ability to defend myself. But I can say one thing to you. Why don't you go ask the DOJ what they meant by the letter? The letter was submitted by them, not by my counsel.
So you do, when I looked at what you have done before, you did make a deal with prosecutors in Brazil when they charged you with fraud, and you avoided prosecution in that deal. You did so by confessing and paying retribution to the victim. So would you do something like that again?
Like I said, I don't know where you're getting your information from, but I would challenge you to bring up receipts on that because that's not how it happened in Brazil.
All right. The bottom line question is, would you?
So you're not prepared. So hold on. So you're not prepared. You made a statement, an
well, no. Are you
accusatory
going to say that
statement
you
on
did not
national
make a deal
television.
with prosecutors? No, I'm not. Did you make a
what-
deal with
so you're not
prosecutors in Brazil,
prepared.
or did you not?
Well, I just told you no, but you're not prepared. So you brought me on air on national television trying to
No,
read me
you
the
can
riot
come on
act,
and say that
but
that's
you're
false.
unprepared.
That's your right to say that it's false. That's
I'd
your
love
right to say that
you
it's
put
false.
receipts on the screen
Our
so the American
reporting
people
is
can
that
see it.
you confessed and paid retribution to the victim. That's all I can say is that's our reporting.
But you're not
I do want to
prepared
give you a
prove that to the
chance to
American
respond.
people.
I do want to give you a chance to respond to some other allegations that are out there that we have reported extensively on, and this is the payments made by your campaign, all of which were just 1 cent below the $200 mark. And that is significant so our viewers understand, Congressman, because at $200, you have to have a receipt. The campaign is required to keep a receipt. So we found in our reporting 7 payments of exactly $199.99. Those included Il Bacco Ristorante in Little Neck, New York, twice in a single day on November 30th, 2021. A $199.99 charge for hotel accommodations at the W South Beach Hotel. That was October 2021. Lowest price room, the reporting showed at that time, typically would have cost more than $700. And then it went on, $199.99 to Uber, Walgreens, Walmart, Best Buy, Delta Airlines, and more. And in fact, Congressman, a report filed by our campaign had hundreds of $199.99 payments to Anonymous. Now, you have blamed your campaign treasurer, I understand, who has resigned. The question is, do you know if your treasurer was putting in for money that wasn't spent just to get reimbursements and steal the money? Do you know what was happening here?
Well, I can't accuse her of doing that, but I can say that the burden of that entire report is not on me. I hire a fiduciary like every single politician, and every mistake made there or not, it's not me. I'm a first-time member of Congress. I ran twice only in my entire life. I could have not known what was going on, but the reality is, what was behind all those 199s, I have yet to know. My new team is auditing the campaign as we speak. They're trying to get to the bottom of what transpired. But the reality is, this is all the doing of a former fiduciary who had a dereliction of her duty and her service and a rupture of her contract with my campaign by just being absolutely sloppy and inexperienced on everything and anything that she did when it came down to my campaign finances. So I can't answer that question. I can't tell you why. I can tell you that I operated above board. My campaign operated above board. There was no such thing as funneling money for reimbursements or anything of the nature, not that I'm aware of. Now, if a bad actor in the campaign engaged in some nefarious scheme to do so, well, I can't be responsible for that, Erin.
All right, so you're saying you had no idea what was happening with the books on your campaign?
No, I did not.
All right, I want to give you a chance to respond to a story that we've covered. I know others have as well, but I had a chance to speak to the U.S. Navy veteran Rich Osthoff. He told us that you scammed him, that he went to you to try to get help to save his sick dog, that you had a charity to help animals. He said that you did raise $3,000 for life-saving surgery for his dog. He says that you then disappeared with the money, and his dog died. And he came on the show, he talked about it, and here's what Rich told me his dog meant to him.
That dog saved my life at least 2 times. When I first got out of the service, I was depressed. I was having nightmares, bad memories about some things that happened. Not war-related, but other things that the military does to you. I started drinking too much. I was doing reckless stuff. My father even told me he thought I had a death wish at that point. And I probably did. I was very suicidal. I would start crying for no reason. And if I didn't have that little princess with me, I probably would have not been here to speak to you right now, at least 2 times.
Congressman, I want to give you a chance to respond to him.
Look, it's a very moving story. It's a sad story, but it's just so unfortunate that he even acknowledged in different interviews that we've never met. I've never met him. And whatever transpired as far as his dog goes and whatever money's transpired, I did not do it. B, everything I've ever done to advocate for animals and help animals, I've done so very transparently. I've partnered with other organizations throughout the history of helping animals. I've driven hours upon hours to save animals from different life-threatening situations. And there's hundreds of people out there that can vouch for my work in animal advocacy. I'm an animal lover myself. I have 4 adopted dogs. The reality is, whatever happened to him, whatever communication happened there, it's unfortunate, but I stand convicted. I did not hurt him or I did not hurt his dog. And anybody you can talk to would know I'd put my hand on a blade to save a dog, let alone a veteran's dog. So it's unfortunate. I can't tell you what happened there, but it wasn't me.
So Michael Bohl is the founder of the New Jersey Veterans Network, and he worked with Rich to try to get this money because Rich was a veteran and Michael was trying to help him. He says, Michael Bohl, who runs the network, he says he did speak to you directly, and here's what he said.
When I spoke to him on the phone, he was not listening to what I was saying. He already made up his mind. I said to him, can you please give the money back to the people? Or there's a veterinarian in Rich's area that we can give the money to and put it into like a fund where he could use it from time to time. It's not your money to keep. And he just wasn't hearing it. I called Rich back horrified. I was really upset because this is Rich's lifeline. And I felt horrible to tell him that I failed him because of feeling that Mr. Holder at the time was going to do the right thing, and he did not.
Congressman, are you saying you never spoke to him either?
Look, this is even news to me now. This is breaking news for me. I don't even know this man's name or who he is, ever spoken to him. I just love that the pile-on effect keeps going on. People just now, everybody knows me, everybody's met me, everybody's had an interaction with me. And then obviously they go on hack networks who just take it for gospel without any proof, and you guys report it as gospel and truth. So I don't know what to do anymore as far as controlling any sorts of reality when it comes down to all the reporting around this stuff.
So I want to follow up on the Brazil point, since you said that we hadn't done our homework. Documents obtained by CNN showed prosecutors in Brazil agreed to a deal with you in a case in which you were accused of defrauding a Rio de Janeiro area clerk of $1,300 of clothes and shoes in 2008. The victim says you appeared on video. So do you have any response to that?
No, I'm not engaging on this because, again, if you can't prove to the American people your allegations, then I'm not going to entertain it. Please, you guys need to be better prepared next time.
I will stand by our reporting, and I want to be very clear about that. I do want to give you a chance to respond to the things that you know that everyone knows about you, the allegations about you, things you've said that are dishonest have been, of course, wide-ranging. Some of these things that you have followed up on, and you said you didn't get an MBA from NYU as an example. But here are a few of them, and I want to give you a chance to respond to this before you go. Here they are.
My grandparents survived the Holocaust. My mom was a 9/11 survivor.
They sent me to a good prep school, which was Horseman Prep in the Bronx.
I actually went to school on a volleyball scholarship. When I was in Baruch, we were the #1 volleyball
Did you graduate?
team.
But I put myself through college and got an MBA from NYU.
So, Congressman, I just want to give you a chance here. You've admitted, I understand you didn't graduate from NYU. Horace Mann says they've searched the records. There's no evidence that George Santos or any alias attended Horace Mann. Can you explain to anybody watching that why you said some of the things that you've said, which you yourself have admitted are not true?
Erin, you know what would be great, and I'm not deflecting, but I'm just going to call you out here in CNN. Have you brought Joe Biden on the network and spoken about all the things he said across the last 46 years? Because I haven't seen it. Joe Biden was top of his graduating
Congressman
class.
Santos, this interview is between you and me, and it is
I
about
understand,
you.
but I understand, but we started off on impeachment. That was a preface of this interview. So I'm really going to go back. Are you bringing Joe Biden on? So when you bring Joe Biden on,
it's
when you bring
completely
Senator
irrelevant to the
Blumenthal-
conversation. And to be very clear, you and I spoke this afternoon, and I said we would begin with impeachment and talk about many other things about you. You were well aware of that, so it would be unfair to claim anything otherwise.
I'll continue to say, when CNN starts pressing Blumenthal, Elizabeth Warren, and Joe Biden, I'll continue to talk to you guys. But for now, no, I'm not answering these questions to you. I've done them extensively throughout many interviews, and people can see it elsewhere.
All right. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time,
You have a
Congressman.
great one. Thank you.
All right, and next, another lawsuit.